and welcome to Career Landscapes, a peek into professional lives. I'm your host, Felicity Minch, and co-founder of One Voice for Change. And today we are so excited to have Chef Joachim Schaaf join us. Let me spend a moment reading his biography. Born in Gusenhausen, Germany in 1963, he discovered his love for food and cooking amidst a fun yet strict upbringing. At 16, he embarked on a culinary path, completing a 3-year chef apprenticeship at a renowned Michelin-starred hotel restaurant in Garmisch. Subsequent ventures led him to Munich, London, and eventually the United States, where he worked as a private chef in Malibu, California, and Santa Fe, New Mexico, deeply influenced by a generous employer who became like family. Meeting his wife, Kay, he settled in Denver, transitioning to a 29-year career as a culinary teacher, shaping aspiring chefs' futures. After retiring from teaching in 2020, he returned to his passion as a private chef, embracing the joy of catering to clients and their loved ones. Welcome, Joachim. We are thrilled to have you today. Thank you so much for the time you're spending with us today.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, the students will be so excited to hear your background and what goes into culinary school. And we are currently doing a project called Recipes for Cultural Connection. And the students are sharing recipes globally around the world. And then the local students are working to create foods so that we can gather, talk about the history of the foods, the background, and how food culturally connects us. So thank you for spending time with us. So let me just jump right into this. Can you tell us more about your background and the most memorable experiences you had in Germany, London, and the United States?
Okay. Well, I always used to hang out in the kitchen more with my mom and grandma than taking care of chores outside with my dad. So I guess that's how I started. And then, going through a high school program, similar to Pro Start now. Back then it was called Home Ec. And it was a fun experience because I was the only boy in a class of 30 ladies. So that was back then. It was more stereotypic, doing home ec, the ladies, and the hands-on, other mechanical things, the guys. So anyway, my real career started, like you mentioned earlier, in garnishing. I guess the first thing that jumped in my mind was um, it was a tough apprenticeship I went through. Um, and I wanted to go to a different hotel where it seemed to be easier. And my parents said, nope, you stay. You finish up right then and there because it was a very well known place throughout Germany. And it opened many different doors in the future to me just by doing my apprenticeship in a nice place. And I guess a fun experience was it was a smaller city and similar to Vail in Colorado. And we used to go and sledding after work and put the sleds behind the cars and go through town and so a lot of different experiences, fun experiences, while doing an apprenticeship. And then moving on to Munich, working in a nice fine dining place within a large hotel, and uh, then moving to London to a French restaurant for almost 2 years, and before coming to the United States. And I started out first working in a French restaurant in Santa Monica, um, California. And a couple of weeks later, I saw this ad in the newspaper advertising for a private chef. And that position was incredible. So the gentleman used to be owner of Pep Boys, and he lived on the beach in Malibu, and so did I. I entertained his guests and family for 3 years, and then I met my wife, and we decided to live in Denver, Colorado, and again worked in a French restaurant here in town. Before I realized a 90 to 100-hour week is not conducive to a family life. So um, that's when I checked into teaching and got my credentials. And I started teaching at Emily Griffith for 4 years and moved to Warren Tech and Red Rocks Community College after that for another 25 years. And that's about as far as my career goes. And I'm back into the um, private chef business. And I enjoy what I'm doing. Still love to cook.
Yeah. Wonderful. Your journey is incredible, just incredible. Can you share some of the cultural insights into German food and how it differs from other countries?
You know, I had a student that worked at a German restaurant. I think it was outside Boulder and Lyons.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he said, Germans have a lot of sour food, don't they? So um, there is some. And other than that, a chef one time said, German food is very uncultured. Like, how is that? It's the country after France and Japan that has the most Michelin stars. So, um, based on um, number of people living in those countries, and there's some very nice fine dining in Germany, of course, besides the local cuisines. But I've never met anybody that has traveled to Germany that came back and said the food wasn't good. Everybody seems to enjoy and love German food, and of course the beer that goes with it.
Yeah.
So, um, yes.
I've spent time in Germany, and my family's from Frankfurt.
Oh,
British comes from Frankfurt, and I love German food. I love the country, and I love the food.
right. I agree. So I'll be going next week and see my parents and enjoy some of that German food again.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Um, in all your international experience, what have you observed? What are the differences in people's attitudes toward food between internationally? What's their differences in attitudes?
You know, 40 years ago, you know, it was it was very different. Um, there was not as much international food available. So, um, you know, thinking about Los Angeles and Santa Fe, where I lived, and Denver, they were the main characters of international food. Um, but there was no Vietnamese. There was no, um, uh, you know, not so much Chinese. There or Indian food, and I experienced that traveling um, through different countries a lot more. For example, in London, Indian food is very, very big. And it was very exciting to experience that. And then, like we have hot dog stands here in London, they have a lot of gyro stands, like Greek style food, and so on and so on. So, travel in this industry is very easy. Um, and, if you can figure out your papers, um, it opens the world to you. So it is a wonderful opportunity to experience the world through food. And it improved, of course. Every cuisine is represented now in Denver that we possibly would want to taste and have. So it's easy.
Wonderful. Yeah, the students are excited because some of the kids are doing their family bread that they learned to bake from their grandmother in Sweden, or um, one of the Vietnamese girls is sharing her grandmother's recipes and all the flavors of the Vietnamese food, which she's excited about. So how do you think food preserves culture and heritage? All the food in your experience, how does food preserve culture?
Well, if I understand you right, I think if you're growing up with the Indian grandma um, or mom, you will learn and taste some of their food, their culture, and you know I get many times why would I enjoy herring, but I grew up with herring, so I love herring. And if you grow up with a different cultured family, I think it gives you a wonderful background on preserving that culture and carrying it forward to future generations. Um, so it's not watching a YouTube video and trying to imitate. It's learning it from maybe your family or your friends, and that is preserving culture to me and food within that culture.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I've got some student questions. Some of the kids wanted to ask these questions, so I'm reading them directly
Yeah.
for the students. Was there a life-changing recipe that inspired you to want to pursue cooking?
Well, I used to be a big eater as a kid. Um, my family and my dad always said when we went out for a lunch or so, and they said, "Do we need a kid's plate for the kids?" And he said, "No, I think they're regular eaters, even with 6, 7, 8 years." So um, food was always important growing up to me, and you know, I was introduced, like I said earlier, to my family um, on on the foods, and I always helped out in the kitchen, and I loved doing that. So, um, you know, but going through high school and the high school program, um, I wasn't quite sure yet on how I would or what I would pursue in my future. So I took many different electives, and that's what I would recommend. To just kind of put your feelers out and see if there's one or more different things that you would enjoy doing. And if you love it, you will be successful, no question.
And another student, a 17-year-old, asked, what were the greatest challenges in learning how to cook and culinary school, and how did you overcome your challenges? And I'll add to that, were there any challenges in work? I mean, just trying to change restaurants and change countries,
Mhm.
from country to country. What were some challenges and how did you overcome them?
The restaurant business is a tough business to be in. Like I mentioned earlier, generally speaking, has long hours, even so it changed. Um, Younger generation is not willing to spend 12, 14 hours a day at work anymore. And employers have adjusted to that. Um, so it is somewhat easier, but you have to be physically and mentally strong. Sometimes, it gets a little rough. Language may get a little rough in the kitchen or in the front of the house, not in front of customers, of course. And then, the demand is high on busy days. So you just you just have to be willing to put in a little bit extra. And if your 8 hour shift is over and there was somebody that called in sick and we have to maybe help out a little bit more, and you have to wash dishes, so be it. Um, it's never boring in a kitchen, um, or in the restaurant industry, period. And if you like to move and not sit behind a computer, I think that would be a good option for you if you like to eat also, of course. So, but challenges other than that, um, if you show your employer that you're willing and open to learn, um, and not be stubborn, and demand it to be your way, and you understand you have to start from the bottom up, I think you will be just fine. And personal challenges, yeah, I guess long hours, especially if you start a family, it may get a little bit more difficult. Um, you just will be working those weekends mostly on holidays, and your partner has to be on board. Um, so it's not Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 to 5. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of different challenges you have to think about in this business and experience, not just read about it.
Mhm. Great. Also, another student, a 13-year-old, asked, what was culinary school like? Was it stressful?
Yeah, um, as I may have mentioned earlier, in Europe there's a lot of apprenticeship, registered apprenticeship. So it's not just walking in some place and saying, "Hey, I'm going to be an apprentice." No, you have to be registered with the state, um, and you have to follow a rigorous curriculum. But you only go to school 1 day a week, and then you work 4 days a week while you're getting paid. And there's other programs that do block schooling. So you work for half a year and then you go to school for 3 months or so. Um, but that's very popular in Europe. And it makes so much more sense to me than possibly spending 60, 80, $100,000 in a culinary school. Even so, they're doing a wonderful job. But it will take a life to pay that off. So why not, in my opinion, you know, pursue an apprenticeship or register apprenticeship, and then you never will have a penny owed, and you get that work experience while you're going through your training and your school. I did um, offer an apprenticeship program through Red Rocks Community College also, that with help I started, and it was and is still very successful. So culinary school, I've met lots of students through my career, teaching that went that route. And then once culinary school was over and they were out in the world of work, um, you know, they decided maybe it was not for them, but then it's all tens of thousands of guys. So my recommendation would be to find some job, even if it's a dishwasher, and see if that is something that would interest you to deal with the stress and whatever else is associated with the kitchen and the industry.
And it takes a lot of skills, what we call soft skills. I mean, you've got to be able to collaborate and listen and cooperate in the kitchen. So there's a lot of skills that students can learn that way also. Um, a 16-year-old girl asked, how would you go about forming a recipe book? What would the structure be like?
Mhm. Yeah, I think um, even if it's a recipe book for your family, that would be awesome. And you can add to it as you go along. But that would be a nice start. Um, I did help once with a recipe book for the city of Golden. And what we realized was when we established that pictures really draw your attention. So, of course, I accumulated a bunch of recipe books and cookbooks throughout my career. And I still go back to them from books I got 30 years ago. And, the pictures inspire you. So that's my recommendation. As many pictures as possible. And if you are doing it professionally, you have to think about cost. Pictures cost more than print. So, and then hard copies cost more than soft copies or read book folders. So, and it takes a lot of work. So, and it may be easier if you are recognized by your community somehow to sell those books if you're interested going in that direction. Um, and you have to make yourself a little name first before you just throw out a cookbook. I think, but I would try it. It's a great experience.
What a great idea to start with your family. And that would make a lovely gift for Christmas or Mother's Day or Father's Day,
Right,
just to
right.
create your own
Yeah.
family cookbook. Great idea. Let me think here. Well, this is from a 17-year-old. I'm considering a career in the restaurant industry. Which college degree would be most beneficial for me to obtain? He was thinking of business, going into business school, and then either then going to culinary school or maybe culinary school first, followed by business school.
So business school is a great idea. Um, it takes knowledge on how to run a business. And the profit margin in the restaurant industry is very small, uh, somewhere around 3 to 5% in general. So knowing how to handle and how to improve your costs and break it down in many different categories that it takes to run a restaurant, um, that needs to be understood. Um, so again, I would recommend um, trying first to work in the industry, um, just to test your guts and see if that is something that you would like to do. On your business degrees, awesome. Um, and then, yes, you need to have some culinary background. So, whether it's just by working or going to a culinary school, absolutely. You can't really tell somebody, how to do things. Um, Even if you think this is the way it should be done, if you have no or very little experience, and schools don't teach that experience.
Good, good. And another question is, how do you use food as a means of connecting with people from different backgrounds and creating shared experiences?
Oh, food is so easy to build relationships. Um, I just had um, one of my son's friends over for breakfast, and not doing anything really special, but when they left, they said that was the best breakfast food I ever had, and that's something you need to have within yourself. You're always wanting to do the best.
Yeah.
And I got in trouble during my apprenticeship and I said it's only for staff, with my chef and my executive chef, who said it doesn't matter who you cook for, it has to be the same quality for everybody, and the same love for cooking that you show doesn't matter. So I met my wife. Um, I don't know what else attracted her to me, but when I was a private chef, she was visiting, and when she saw me do fresh pasta, and she was quite impressed. At least she said so. So building relationships and friends through food and sharing, um, and trying to explain, even if they may not like it, why this culture may maybe like it more. I think it builds everlasting friendships. And I still see that with many of my students. I'm still in contact with after 30 years.
Oh, good, good. That's wonderful. Did you just love teaching? It sounds like you loved teaching.
Yeah, I love the teaching part because it gave me a really, it's passing on the knowledge. It's for um, young people, and even if they don't stay in the industry, at least they can maybe cook something at home instead of having to go to 7-Eleven for a sandwich or some kind of a hot dog deal. But I love the teaching, and it was very rewarding. And that's just another career to get into once you have built some knowledge and some background. There's so many different careers. Past student just received his master's sommelier. Um, so he is a very skilled person now of recommending and selling wines to his guests at his restaurant.
Oh, interesting. How do you see, do you think artificial intelligence and the way we're going with AI, how do you think that would change the restaurant industry or cooking? We'll always need humans to be doing the cooking, but
Mhm.
would there be any changes that you can see how AI would affect the restaurant business?
I think a fast food establishment was trying that with robots cooking hamburgers,
Oh,
as far as I remember, and
yes.
something went wrong, but I don't remember exactly what it was. So, um, I'm not sure if robots can taste a sauce or a soup and say it needs a little bit more salt, or I'm not sure if robots can or artificial intelligence can plate and make a plate beautiful looking and adjust to shortcomings. I don't have those ingredients. I'm not sure if artificial intelligence can make up for that. But for printed material and other things, I think definitely it can help. Yes.
Oh, right, menus and
Absolutely.
that, yeah. Well, it's wonderful to know that some industries won't be impacted by AI. We still need the human touch. We still need the emotional connection, the relationships.
Yes, and just to tie in with that, I experienced a few weeks ago the first robot waiter. So it was very interesting. It was this R2D2 type style um, robot that came out in the restaurant with several plates on it for the table. And you found the table and all that, but still a waiter had to grab the plates and set it in front of you and gave you a smile and took the dirty plates out and asked if everything was okay and so on and so on and so on. In a sense, it's coming, but to a limit.
Right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Trying to think if there's any other student questions. Oh, one girl, she's 13. She asked, how do you adjust for varying altitudes, especially when baking?
Mhm.
Is this something that is taught in culinary school?
Yeah, I think um, unless you're up higher than Denver, you don't have to make many adjustments. Um, Denver is 5,000 some feet, and um, generally speaking, it is adding a little bit more flour to baking, and then don't be afraid to adjust it maybe a little bit more liquid. If your dough or batter gets too stiff. Generally speaking, it requires a little bit higher temperature, 15 to 25 degrees Fahrenheit. And especially with smaller baked goods that maybe require baking powder, uh, you should reduce your baking powder some. And you can find that easily online. And, you know, those boxed cakes and batters that you can buy, they give you exact measurements for high altitude and at what level. It's very important if you're baking at, Keystone Notch, well, it's 12,000 feet or 10,000. You really have to pay attention. Um, but I'm okay with it here in my area, and I don't have to adjust that much, really.
Good, good. Well, the final question from a student, and this one is from a 16-year-old. What simple recipes can a beginner learn to start their cooking journey?
Yeah, um, I think if you really like pizza, maybe you should start making your own pizza dough. It's 4 or 5 ingredients, very easy. And instead of buying some store-bought marinara, maybe cook your own tomato sauce or marinara sauce or pizza sauce. Um, and of course, if you like the baking, I would suggest maybe start with cookies or some easy cakes like um, batters, like a pound cake or coffee cake. There's so much material online, and in my opinion, beginners look at a picture and say, "That's gorgeous! This beautiful 7-layer torte." And I want to do that, but it just takes a little bit skill to get to that. So, if you like Vietnamese, maybe start with a pho, or Chinese, start with chicken chow mein, homemade, um, something simple. And that's what I experienced throughout my career. Sometimes interested high school students came in and said, "Will we learn molecular cuisine?" And I said, "Well, you know how to cook a nice bechamel or a hollandaise sauce?" And no, they didn't, but they wanted to jump 20 years ahead. So start with the basics, build your skill, build your confidence, and move on from there. So that's my recommendation.
Wonderful. Yeah, I teach guitar lessons, and the kids always want to jump from the very beginning level all the way up to something extremely advanced.
Of
They
course.
want to play something pop wise or rock wise or advanced classical guitar. And yeah, it's step one, step two, step three. So, oh, thank you so much. I think I've covered all the student questions. But I'd like to end with 3 questions that I ask all my guests.
Okay.
The first one is, what is one piece of advice you would give young people today?
Oh, like we just discussed, you need to understand that you have to start from the bottom. Um, I know teaching, especially high school students, friends and relationship are so important. Um, Social media may not be the answer to overcome that, but in general, um, I never was into drugs and alcohol and other things. And what I experienced throughout my career was that a lot of young people, in order to fit in, um, may be joined. some of those things, and it ruins your life. It really does. And stay away from that. I know it sounds easy. You need to have that strength to take care of yourself and to be kind and always be kind. Um, take care of yourself, take care of your family and your friends, and you will be successful and you will have friends, even if it's just a family member.
That's great advice. Yeah, I tell the kids have come to me talking about drugs, and I have always told them just don't even start. Don't go down that path. Just don't, and it does. It can ruin your life. And I've seen a lot of lives ruined on that
Yes.
on that path. And you're correct. Being kind, that's we need to be kinder, and we need kindness today. So the second question is, what gives you hope?
Um, yeah, I think again, try to think about what is important to you as a young person. Um, priorities change over time. When I was young, of course, having fun and some partying was important, and friends were important, of course. And then career, money comes in, and family may or may not happen. But you know, you know, quite what gives me hope is that um, the young generation has a lot of exposure to things that I didn't have through social media and internet. You can experience a lot of different things just going online, um, but it's not necessarily the only thing I think you should do. You should um, net connections. You should make friends. Um, uh, you should be enjoying the outdoors. Um, and what gives me hope and respect is that if you follow some of those basic guidelines, you will be a wonderful person that everybody can look up to. Um, and even if it's not a career in the industry, it's fine. Um, it's this young generation has a lot to deal with, and I heard that uh, they found it.
Great, great. And the last question is personally, what or personally, who inspires you?
I had role models, of course. My bosses, the executive chefs I learned under, um, some of the famous chefs that I read cookbooks um, from. That it really has to be you. Um, and that's what maybe sets a successful person apart. You have to inspire yourself. You always want to be better. And that does not include just your career, but it includes your family, your friends, your neighbors, really anybody. We all have bad days, but it's not the other person's fault. You're grumpy, and you won't hold open the door for them. You won't say good morning. Just be kind and inspire yourself to be the best you can.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. This has been so inspiring. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much. I'm just so grateful to you. It's just been wonderful to speak with you.
You're very welcome, and I hope you could make a little difference.
Great. Thank you so much. And everybody, thank you for watching this video. And all the information about One Voice for Change and Joachim will be in the links below. So please like, subscribe this video, and thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, bye.
Thank you.